This is the last group of several hundred illegal migrants who have reached the shores of the Greek islands. The mechanism is well known. Smuggling gangs charge several hundred to several thousand euros for a place on a boat and a trip to the European promised land. But here, none of these promises come true. Instead of social benefits and a life at the expense of Europeans, there are camps, detention, and ultimately deportation. Greece has lost patience. No one is talking about asylum law anymore. The local parliament has just voted to suspend the procedures. The country is in a crisis situation. There are similar decisions, especially those taken by Spain, which were introduced because of the signs of an invasion. Because looking at the pace of which all this is happening, this is exactly what it looks like. However, Athens is going one step further. Faced with the impotence of EU agencies, it is sending naval ships to the Mediterranean. These are to block boats carrying illegal migrants, which are currently arriving en masse on the shores of the Greek islands. The truth is that this number is constantly growing, and the information we have indicates that there will be many more people, because it has been proven that after arriving in Crete, where most of the newcomers stay, and also in other southern parts of the island, they enter Europe, and when they enter Europe, they are treated differently. Greece and Italy are increasingly resentful of Brussels, which has repeatedly promised to solve the migration problem in the Mediterranean. First, negotiations were held with the authorities in Libya and Tunisia. Then millions of euros were paid, which, according to EU bureaucrats, were supposed to go to the Libyan and Tunisian services. Where they ended up is unknown. But looking at the effects of the policy of buying security in Africa, it seems that they did not end up where they were supposed to. Greece has been left to its own devices for many years when it comes to illegal migration, and cooperation with the European Union and the actions of the United Nations are not improving the situation, which is why they have decided to take this desperate step. The government in Athens must do everything it can to ensure security of its country. Also look at the situation from the perspective of Europe as a whole. To make matters worse, the situation in Libya is becoming even more serious. Because of the continuing civil war there, the United Nations has committed to monitoring arms trafficking channels for the warring group. According to Western media, in the face of Libya's confrontational stance, the United Nations mission will most likely be terminated, which will allow the opening of smuggling routes used by illegal migrants.
It's fair and appropriate for governments to address that concern, and there are a number of ways that they can do so. We see there is real value in starting to come up with a comprehensive approach, recognizing that most migrants aren't looking to come all the way to Europe. They first migrate to a country that's next door or within their region.
The problem is that in Africa and the Middle East, no so-called safe country wants to take in its neighbours in need. This was the case, for example, with Saudi Arabia, which categorically refused to open its borders to migrants from Iraq or Jordan. This is currently the case in North Africa. Brussels assume that it will be enough to pay the warlord governments in countries engulfed in chaos for the problem to disappear on its own.